Matt Chapman has gone on record to say that he likes it here and that he would like to stick around and that the Giants front office knows this about him. So that it's an interesting strategy because he is basically talking as a player who's become, I wouldn't say he's beloved, but I think the Giants fan base really likes him.
I think so.
And he's basically saying the front office knows how I feel. It is on them to get this deal done, which it should be. It should always be on the front office to get the deal done. We know that he struggled in trying to find that correct deal last year, which is why he was available for the Giants. So that is also part of his strategy, I'm sure, is, man, maybe the Giants will give me the deal that I couldn't get last year. You know, hopefully they love me enough. Hopefully the fan base puts some pressure on them. Hopefully, you know, Farhan is so worried about his job and worrying about people signing long-term that he gives me that money. Do you what has your feeling been about the Matt Chapman experience so far? And do you think the Giants should break the bank to keep him?
You know, I don't know about break the bank, and I don't even know, honestly, if you need to break the bank to keep Chapman, because Chapman, I mean, he seems to me one of those guys, he likes his routine. I mean, you and I were on the field. We got to see him take grounders.
Yeah.
He you know, at Oracle, Ron Wotus, Matt Williams, they were on the field with him, and then Bob Melvin talked to him for a brief moment. You know, he's going to be what, 32 years old, probably in the middle of the season next year. Played in the Bay Area for 5 seasons, in Toronto for 2, back in the Bay Area. He just kind of seems like one of those creatures of habit. So I don't even know if you need to break the bank. He probably will opt out because there's no harm in, you know, there's no reason for the Giants to come right now and say, here's the contract. The season's not over. I mean, he could get hit in the face with a fastball tomorrow. Yeah. And you've extended him. So there's really no harm in that, other than now you've got other teams vying for his services as soon as he opts out. Then was it all lip service on Matt Chapman's part to say that, you know, I'd like to stick around, let's get a deal done? Somebody who says that tells me that they are happy in their place, that they want to be there. That's not any kind of, like you said, that's not a great contract negotiation ploy. That's not going to get you points with your agent, I don't think.
Yeah, it's very interesting because the whole problem with last year was they could not find the deal that they wanted, which allowed him to say. And so that, you know, he's going to opt out. And by opting out, hopefully that means that, you know, A, he and the Giants can come to an agreement, or B, there's another team out there for his sake, that sees the value. He has never had the opportunity for that big money. He was I think the last deal he signed in Toronto was, I don't know, it was like, I forget what I looked at it just recently. What was it? It was 2 for $25.
Okay. And
then he became a free agent to sign with the Giants, and his contract this year. So he's making almost $17 million this year. And then if he was not going to opt out, then he would get bumped up to almost 18. So he really has not had that opportunity to take that big long-term deal and really just, you know, that 5 for $150, that was never available for him. And I'm sure that's what they thought they were going to have last year. So now, by him saying this, if the Giants go, okay, 4 for $100, does he take that?
You know, I could see him doing that. Again, that would,
by the way, they may not even need to go 4 for $100.
They may not need to. And that would put him at 36 years old. So he'd still have time for another contract or 2 short ones after that if he wanted to continue to play. I mean, he's a healthy guy. The guy doesn't get hurt, man. Yeah. I mean, he's on the field. And that's the key. What are they? They say the best ability is availability, and so that's what Matt Chapman is. He's there. He's on the field. He's putting up the numbers. Yeah, I mean, he would be my number one target. I love Blake Snell, but again, pitchers always make me nervous. But I guess it depends on what Snell's looking for. If Snell's looking for like a 3-year deal, the astronomical numbers, I'm fine with that. I'd rather at this point with pitchers, I think I'd rather go short contracts with huge guaranteed numbers. I just don't like it. And you and I don't, we're getting a little tired of the 1-year opt-outs just because you want to sign somebody. And as a fan, you want to be like, Blake Snell is ours for 3 years, not, hey, Blake Snell signed a 3-year deal with the Giants, but he's gone after one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. But, how many times are we going to do that before, the fans are like, can we just sign somebody for, 6-7 years? Garrett Cole is going to be out there next year. And again, pitching wise, I think I'm comfortable with like a 3 or 4 year deal at this point. It's because of the quick decline and so many injuries and everything. I mean, you saw Blake Snell go on the injured list twice this year with the same injury. So,
I mean, you just look at the Dodgers, and we haven't actually brought up the Dodgers a lot this year because things have not been in our favor of late. But Walker Buehler trying to come back, he's had to go back on the DL. Right. I saw Glasnow just had to go back on the DL. So Kershaw is now he's like their guy right now.
Yeah, he's back to being their ace, man. And they only have a 3-game lead over the Padres, and
the Padres are right there. The Diamondbacks are right there. It just you just like, man, if the Giants could just had one more bat, maybe they could be in this mix too. Mm-hmm. And that ultimately falls on Farhan to me. I know, there are some people who are just like anti-Farhan to the nth degree, and I'm not like that. I don't think you're like that either. No. Like, we understand how hard it is, but at some point, man, you have to pull the trigger, and he has not been able to pull the trigger on anything. People will point to the Chris Bryant trade. I guess he was a talented guy,
but yeah, Chris Bryant wasn't Juan Soto.
No,
I mean that's the whole thing. He wasn't Juan Soto. He wasn't. Who was the big trade deadline player this year? God, I can't even.
There was not really one who
there really wasn't.
Louis Bob was probably the biggest name value from a younger player, but
honestly, the biggest name was Blake Snell.
Yeah,
when it came down to it, and it didn't go anywhere. So yeah.
So I do look at Matt Chapman and go, hey, if he's looking for, I don't know who gives him 4 for $100, because that's $25 million a year. He's never made more than this year, which is 16.6. So do you bump him up to do you need to bump him up to 25? I guess I just don't know. Maybe there's a team out there who needs some stability on the left side of the infield, and they look at him and they go, yeah, we'll make that deal. But I think the fact of the matter is, if you're Matt Chapman and you go through the ranks and you're in Oakland, and all of a sudden you're just like this guy who's going to make so much money once you finally hit free agency, and then you have a bad season in Toronto, hit free agency, and that money is not there.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, what, 4 for 88 maybe? I mean, 22 is good. 22 is good. And then you're going to have some other team come in, and then maybe the Giants do have to bump it up at that point. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he really hasn't had the big contract. So Farhan could come in 4 years, 88 million, and he goes, there's 22 million a year to stick with us. Because I mean, honestly, he gets people to watch. Hey, as a baseball fan, you and I, we love defense. I mean, defense it's fantastic, especially if you have ground ball pitchers.
Just watching him is phenomenal.
He's a professional. He's a professional baseball player. He brings a lot to the team. He brings a lot to the clubhouse. So he's worth the money. That's the thing. I mean, he's not a guy that you're throwing money at and going, I wonder how he is in the clubhouse. I wonder what his glove is going to be like. Maybe he can be a decent enough fielder and this and that. No, you know what you're getting. I mean, you're getting a high WAR guy, and you're getting a high WAR guy because of the glove.
Yeah, he's an excellent defender, and he's a 250 hitter with 20 bombs. That you got to be able
Yeah.
to live with that in order to
I'm
pay him that money.
I will take that at third base any day. I mean, yeah, it's not Matt Williams, but a Matt Williams doesn't come along all
Mm-mm.
the time. You know what I mean? So to get a Matt Chapman
Is he a
and to have
Pedro
him,
Feliz?
I hope not. I hope he's not a Pete Happy.
I was thinking of guys who had to try and come
Oh
in
God.
and play that position. David Bell, Pedro
Yeah.
Feliz,
What was it? Bill Miller,
Pablo,
the Pablo. Didn't we have Charlie Hayes, right?
Charlie Hayes.
Charlie
Hey.
Hayes. Now we're going way back. Yeesh. Yeah, we had a lot of different third basemen that tried to, do the job. But so that's why you get a third baseman, because your other option right now is Casey Schmidt. I mean, Casey Schmidt is having a hard time hitting out of a paper bag. So
I mean, I think Casey Schmidt ultimately could be a good backup infielder, but
sure,
he doesn't hit well enough to take anybody's position at this point.
no,